Good morning. I hope it's a good morning for you all. It's so good to be back. I've had so many beautiful, sweet comments that are greatly appreciated. The whole intention of doing this is just to really reach the community of knitters who get the language that I'm speaking and are into it. So super exciting, and I'm so thrilled that you're all here and you're all announcing yourselves and where you're from and all the things. So thank you so much. I love it. I will introduce myself if you're a new viewer. My name is Andrea and I live in Los Angeles. I am an artist. I am a painter and work in the fiber arts. I am an artist mentor and been a teacher at some of the museums here in town. So just keeping the flow, keeping the creative flow going. And I've been particularly obsessed with knitting in the last few years since the pandemic. So it's been incredibly therapeutic and I've learned so much. And it's one arena that has taught me that it is completely awesome to be a beginner. Because when you're a beginner, the world is your oyster. And I think we think so many times like being a beginner, oh, if I'm not good at it the first time, especially at this age, or even younger, then it's too scary. I don't want to try it. I'm just gonna, no, not for me. And actually maybe it is this age, it is being 55 where I'm feeling a lot of freedom from those kinds of restrictions and self-doubt and fear and whatever else it is. So yeah, love the ride, love being a beginner at things. So okay, this I've talked about this shawl a few times. I finished it. It's blocked. It actually feels amazing. I haven't totally sewn in all my ends yet, but whatever. I actually wore this out today. I wore it to the post office, which is kind of a funny place. Not superbly appreciated. Just kidding. Anyway, this is the Winter Lights shawl. Actually, I should just hold it up. And I decided to make this because, first of all, it seemed like a very approachable Stephen West design. And this is my first Westknits design. I thought I was creating a neutral palette when I picked out colors from Stash. But now that they're all together, and even along the way, I was like, is it really neutral? I don't think so. So this is a mishmash of yarns from MadelineTosh, Posh Yarns, which I would like to talk about more later. And this is, I always forget what this yarn is called, and I don't have a tag. Ginny, sorry, that's my dog barking. Anyway, but this is it. And I learned many things doing this shawl. Oops. Okay, that was some insane barking. I couldn't allow that to keep going on. I generally do not like to edit, but I think here I must, because you would all like run for the hills. He has a particularly terrible bark. Anyway, I was saying this beautiful, beautiful, like chocolate, brown, purple sort of incredible color. It's a dyer, and I believe it's a South American dyer. And I don't have the tag, and I believe it's a women's collective. I can't remember. Anyway, it was wonderful because I could stash dive. I could play with some stitches I've never done before. These funny bubble stitches here, which some of you already know are not my favorite aesthetically. Although I will say it kind of works. I think it works in the transition between the rays and the honeycomb. So never have done a honeycomb stitch before. That was really sweet. And then the end is really chill. Like, it's just kind of some barely there lace motifs just to kind of get the wave going. So yeah, so I really had a ball making it. And I guess that's what I kept saying throughout, is that it was just so fun, but like, I didn't think I would ever wear it. And honestly, although I have already worn it, I don't. It's so different from anything, which is maybe okay. Come here. Come here. I'm sorry, I have to call the dog over. He's just being kind of weird. Okay. So anyway, I highly recommend it, especially if you haven't done one of Stephen West shawls. I found it, I mean, it's so clear, so approachable. It's big, but it's not like the biggest. In fact, I think it might even be considered one of the more, smallish, moderate-sized pieces that he designs. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about neutrality, what I consider to be neutrals, but actually what I really want is the ability to kind of take like one color and do multiple shades of that color and tones of that color, so that it's discernible once the piece is completed, but not necessarily super obvious in the kind of designing of the colors. So I might try another one of his designs, actually, just because it really was so fun. And, I keep trying. I keep trying for the neutral situation. Anyway, so that's exciting. Ta-da. It is very ta-da, right? I mean, I almost feel like a performer, to be totally honest. I feel like someone that's got something to show or to say. So yes, very fun. And actually beautifully, the material, the fabric all knit up so beautifully. Yeah, so I think I feel good about it in the end. Anyway, also I will say that I'm wearing here, of course, like the ever so stunning and popular Ranunculus. And mine, even though honestly it is not the weather for it, but I am now willing the sunshine to come out by wearing summer clothing. Anyway, this is the Ranunculus by Midori. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a very popular, very approachable pattern that is so beautiful. There are so many examples of it on Ravelry, and it's a quick knit. I believe I knit this on a size 9, and it's just got the prettiest texture. There's like really gorgeous, interesting new stitches for me too, this one. So that was really fun. And I knit it up in, I've said this before, my favorite MadelineTosh. base, which is the Tosh Merino Light. And it's a single ply, very, very soft, absolutely beautiful, beautiful yarn. And they have it in so many incredible colors. I don't remember what this is called. This is a very old, I mean, when I say very old, I mean like, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years old, this top. And I don't have the information for it anymore. It might be on my Ravelry, so I will look. And if it is, I will for certain put all of the information in the description box. Same goes for this fun shawl and anything else that comes up. So this is it. I in my older-ish years have become someone who I really love dressing in monochromatics. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm wearing the same color blue pants. So I find it super simplistic, but not in a bad way. It just simplifies everything. I can just wear the color, own the color, and then I guess anything can go on top when you're all in one color. So I wear a lot of browns and like caramels and rust and that kind of color palette. So I often am wearing just all one color. And so that's what I did today. Yeah, so Ranunculus, MadelineTosh. So I think I want to start actually by asking the audience a question. So I mentioned last episode that I was working on a t-shirt design. And the t-shirt, this is the t-shirt. So it was getting, I'm knitting it in 2 strands of Nutiden, which is, you know, this exquisite wool. Let's see. That has so many kind of sweet surprises in it. And I just really wanted to work with the yarn, and I did double it because a lot of people, when they use Nutiden, are doubling the yarn. What has happened to this t-shirt is, and I blocked it because I stopped at a certain point because I was like, how? This is not a t-shirt. This is like a full-on wool sweater. And this will not be worn in the summer. It's not heavy necessarily, but it's like thick. So I'm at this point, and it's basically a raglan. Very simple design. I have, it's really boxy. I'm not gonna try it on, but you can see it's like super boxy. So I'm not sure. I mean, obviously I could do something very simple, like just go with the sleeves and do like big wide sleeves and lots of ribbing for the cuff and just kind of make it this exaggerated sweater. That was one idea I thought, but I sort of wanted to ask like the community if anyone has ever been in this situation where you're making one thing and it's really not gonna work as that thing, but you've knitted this beautiful fabric. I have tried to, maybe it's easier when it's double-stranded, but I recently had to frog a single strand Nutiden piece, and it was no fun at all. So this is my dilemma. I don't know. I want to keep going. I suppose I'll just keep making a regular sweater, but maybe somebody knows of like a great sleeve or a really cool way to finish I know sometimes I've seen like split hems that are pretty cool. Anyway, if you have any thoughts or something comes to mind, please do tell in the comments below, because I'm kind of stuck. Yeah, so that was my first show, and really this yarn is so incredible. It just gives me so much joy. It really does. All right, and actually a lot of my knitting woes in the last couple of weeks have been Nutiden related. Mostly just because when, no, I think what it is that I just want the Nutiden by itself. And I yet have not been successful pairing Nutiden with another yarn. So as I had mentioned, even 2 episodes back, once I finished my Westknits Winter Lights shawl, I was very excited to cast on the Moon Whistle by Andrea Mowry. And that is just a very kind of simple garter stripes with some slip stitches. And I thought I had figured out the perfect palette. And the perfect palette, I'll show you. So for the main color, doesn't it want to focus? For the main color, this is so strange. Okay, main color is Piquant, which is like totally stunning. I showed it last time. Skimmed, which is also just incredible yarn. It has so much variation. It's truly, truly spectacular. And then I was also going to do, so let's see, this, and Langtan, which is in a very, very pale apricot-ish color. So this was going to be my neutral Moon Whistle. Super gorgeous, right? So I started making it, and one thing I loved was how the stripes were coming. Wait, I gotta put this against something. And I'm not sure if you can even tell, but you can really see the striping in person anyway between these two. And it's subtle, but it's gorgeous. And I love it. And there's, oh my God, there's so many sweet bits. I don't know if the camera can even pick it up, but there's like little peachy bursts, yellow bursts, amazing. And then shortly after you do the first stripes, you start to do the slip stitch rows. So I thought it would be really cool to kind of to kind of do those slip stitch rows, which Andrea Mowry, who's the designer, uses spin cycle. So it's like kind of a color shifting, and then you get these stripes of whatever the main color or the contrast color, which was actually this color. So I was using these two right in this section. And I guess what's happening, what's happening is that I don't think I'm getting what I really want to see from skimped. Like, I don't get to see all this color variation. I don't really get to see the brownish, grayish, rustish, all these like sweet little brush strokes. I don't get to see that. So I stopped here. I thought I would block it, which I've done. And no, I don't think I'm going to continue on with it, which is really sad because I've been talking about it for 2 episodes. And I'm not saying I won't ever make it, but I don't think I want to make it with this yarn because this yarn to me just wants to be itself. Like, it doesn't want to do anything fancy or funky or, you know, it just really wants to be itself. And what's cool is that I find in my knitting practice currently, I'm less drawn to like, you know, the complicated knits. Like I also just want to knit basics that I reach for time and time again. So I feel like this has to be very simple shawl or a sweater. I have many things in my favorites. And I have many patterns that exist in a Google Drive. So I think it's just about accepting the fact that this is, at least for me, these yarns just need to be on their own. I'll say one thing that I think is awesome is I did this single-stranded because of the climate that I live in, although it's changing, so I don't know. The climate I live in Los Angeles is typically much warmer. And the single strand Nutiden is the most perfect weight, which I do have some challenges with the Langtan. The Langtan is like a very, it's so fragile and it breaks really easily. And it's actually, I was thinking about this while I was knitting single-stranded. I, first of all, changed the way I knit. So instead of knitting continental, I'm knitting English style, which is the way I learned originally, which immediately kind of slows me down. Because but that is the thing, like I slow down because I want to make sure that every strand is properly, you know, knit into stitches, that I'm not pulling too hard. So the whole experience of knitting with single-stranded Nutiden is, it really makes you stop and look at every single stitch, which is pretty beautiful. You know, I mean, by the end of this shawl, I was basically just like, ugh. You know, I was just like, I wanted to be done. I just wanted to get it done. You can't really, that mindset just isn't one that occurs, I don't think, at least my own experience. So that's really special. I think that's incredibly special. And I love the single-stranded fabric. In one of my first episodes, I shared a single-stranded Flutterbutt shirt by Jessie Made Designs that I wear a lot, and that is amazing, and actually was knit single-stranded but with kind of a stronger wool, it felt like. And that is the thing with Nutiden. It's like all the bases kind of have their own temperaments, their own personalities, which is what makes them so special and beautiful. So yeah, so I ditched that. However, I have in my queue, oh wait, this is not it. I have in my queue a new, I think it's new, Teti's Garden released a shawl pattern, and it was based on a pattern she already had written, I think, for a pullover. I'm looking for the name of it because I didn't write it down, and I don't usually print the pattern from the start. Oh, here we go. Linnaeus Shawl. Hello. And hers is also knit in some Nutiden for the base color. And then the kind of little detail floral motif is with some mohair, I believe. And I think this is such a gorgeous, gorgeous shawl. And there's multiple textures. I love the sweet floral design. Not too sweet, but it is beautiful. So to compensate for my like sad feelings about the moon whistle, I decided to cast on the Linnaeus shawl, and I haven't gotten very far, but I'll show what I do have. And I'm knitting it in Nutiden in the colorway Morot. And I'm trying to get this thing to focus on it. Why won't you focus? Anyway, so far it's beautiful details of like, you know, little eyelet stitches. There's some beautiful I think traveling stitches that I'm embarking upon now in both directions, but super approachable pattern. And oh my God. Oh, and this is the top. I'd never done a garter tab cast on before, so that was pretty cool. I think that's really a cool technique to know. So Morot is from, I think I've showed it here, and I've even called it by a completely different name, but here it is. Here it is. And oh my God, it is so stunning, y'all. It is so gorgeous. So, and the name, which I love the name, Morot, means carrot in Swedish. And that's what I see also, but like the most painterly carrots you've ever seen coming out of the ground. So this is the Morot. This is going to be the main color. And then I believe I'm going to, every time I say what I'm going to do on this podcast, I wind up not doing it, but whatever. I believe I'm going to match it with the Langtan, which is a very, you know, you've seen it. It's like super, super pale apricot. Kind of will pick up this kind of orangey rusty in the Morot. And then, okay, it's because Langtan is so fragile. And again, Nutiden knitters, like, help me because I paired it. So I got this incredible mohair, silk mohair from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. And I think it's called Sunday Mimosa is the color. And the yarn is called Mighty Mo. How cute. And it's amazing. It has a lot of like variation. It's very tonal. It's very pretty. And I thought, okay, this really picks up on some of that like apricot-y color. And it's a lace weight, so it's not super intrusive. So I swatched because I thought, oh, that would be so nice to have also in these little flower decorations. So I swatched, and this is what I got. And I don't know if you can see, and I'm not sure, I think because I'm using my camera on a different setting, it's just being annoying. There we go. So this is it together. And I'll say the positive thing about using them together, well, there are two things. It really strengthens the Langtan yarn. Single knitting, single stranded with the mohair. And it doesn't compete necessarily with the color. The bummer is that the you know, the strand of yarn really shows through. So not so much like the fluffy mohair bits, but the actual, oh, what is that called? It's called something, but you see it because it's all those like funny lines in there that shouldn't be there. So I don't love that. And I'm not sure, possibly, I guess for the flower detail, I could double the Nutiden. I'm not sure. But I'm also curious about what yarns do folks who love pairing Nutiden with a lace weight. I'd love to know what you use. And if you also struggle with that same issue of being able to see that like column, the supportive like column yarn inside. And if that bothers you, or if you notice, or if maybe in blocking, well, no, I blocked it. So anyway, totally would love to know about that. Okay, last, I'm gonna show you, so that's my whip, number 1. And then I haven't made a ton of progress on my Misurina, a little bit since last time. But I will show it anyway, because, you know, a little progress is good. So these are both Posh Yarns. If you know, if you've watched my previous videos, you know I have a very sentimental and long relationship history with Posh Yarns. And these came from my stash, my inherited stash. And I'm excited. I think I'm gonna really like it when it's done. But I'm finding that I'm not super into like doing color work right now. Like I don't wanna stop everything else and focus on this. But I do want some summer knits, should summer ever arrive. I want some summer t-shirts. So this is definitely, you know, I want to do it. I need to like put it in front of my face a little more. And then the other thing that I cast on was something I talked about last time, but I really haven't gotten very far. So I don't even know if it's worth sharing. Let me see. No, it's really not worth sharing, except that I'm really happy that I started it. And I want to say thank you to those of you who threw out some suggestions for nice yarns for a traveling 18-year-old. I wound up actually buying this yarn, which I've never used before. It's called Drops Baby Merino. And it's 100% wool. And it's super wash. And it's so soft, like crazy soft. And because this is such a close-fitted camisole garment, I think it's a good material, and it's washable, so she'll be able to wash it. And for those of you who weren't privy to this before, this is what I'm knitting for my daughter who's leaving in September to do an academic year abroad, which we're very, very excited for her about. So this, I have some time, but it's tiny needles, and oh my God, my gauge has completely, in the last 6 months, I don't know, I'm going down 2 needle sizes now. Okay, lastly, I just, you know, I started this podcast, and I think one of the first things and in every podcast I mention Posh Yarn, and I've linked to their website, and I've talked about that I have a very large stash, and that part of me feels, you know, it's that thing of like, I will never be able to knit this yarn up in my lifetime. And the thing is, it's so special to me that I feel like I want it to be used. I want it to go into someone's hands who has like the perfect idea for it. It's just super beautiful. So I've decided that every now and again, I am going to gift some of the Posh yarn to a viewer. And the one I'm going to start with, which is incredibly soft and I can't stop squeezing it, is this. I'm going to put it close so everyone can see it. So it's a gorgeous, like emerald green with some pale bits. This is the Renee sock. It's got 440 yards. Oh, this would make an incredibly luscious pair of socks. Okay, this is the content. 70% superwash merino, 20% silk, 10% cashmere. Oh my God. Someone must make something close to the skin. Someone must. And what's amazing is I picked this out of like a gigantic bin. It's a solo, so it doesn't have a mate. And you have to listen to this colorway, which is, I feel like, kismet. The colorway is called High Up in the Hills of California. Right? Just perfection. So I think the giveaway is gonna go like this. Follow me on Instagram and DM me that you're interested in the yarn. And essentially, I'll just pick the first person because I don't know how else to do it. But it's really gorgeous. It might not even be as blue as an emerald. Anyway, so really, I hope the people that are interested in receiving this yarn are going to really enjoy it. So yeah. So, okay, wait, just because it's sitting right here, this is one of my not one of my first, but this is one of my favorite Nutiden colors. It's like the deepest, darkest chocolate brown. Look at the hay. Y'all, I never take the hay out, by the way. It's so gorgeous. And I am just waiting for the right thing. I thought maybe a pressed flowers shawl. Ooh, I've done some swatching. I'll talk about that next time. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. And I hope everyone's happily knitting, creating, being you. And I thank you so much for coming along for the ride. All right, take good care.